And joining us now from Capitol Hill, Mike Rogers. He's the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee. Mr. Chairman, first of all, do you support sending weapons to the Syrian opposition?
Well, I have said in the past, Wolf, that I think it's very important that we reestablish our relationship with the Syrian opposition in a way that's helpful to the United States. I think we have long damaged that relationship, and so I've laid out some things that I thought publicly we should be engaged in. I do think that the administration has presented a plan that did not get wild reviews on the committee, and even including from me, to do certain things in Syria, of which I can't provide the details, obviously. I do think that we have to do something to establish that relationship, not only with the opposition, but our Arab League partners, of which has deteriorated greatly because of 2 years of doing just about nothing. And it's caused real problems for us, and it's jeopardized our security, the United States' security position in the Mideast when it comes to Syria and the regional conflict this is turning out to be.
How do you guarantee that if the U.S. were to supply weapons, whether shoulder-fired missiles or anti-tank rockets or whatever, if the U.S. were to do so, they wouldn't wind up in the hands of al-Nusra or al-Qaeda supporters who are also in the opposition to President Bashar al-Assad?
Certainly there's no doubt of that. So any project to do anything close to that would have to be with good intelligence, good vetting, and very limited, and some would term it feathering in, of any weapon system so that you can with almost certainty, and nothing is certain in this type of environment.
Well, let me interrupt you, Mr. Chairman. Does the U.S. have that good intelligence to know who's a good guy in the opposition as opposed to a bad guy?
The United States has gotten better at that, which is why many said don't do this early on until you get a better intelligence picture. I think the intelligence picture has improved. The problem now is because of the time that was waited, you have al-Nusra is rising up, some 6,000, a new group called al-Sham that's there. We have other groups that are now appearing, some over 4,000 people coming from all over the region, including some in Europe and other places, to show up, to join the fight, which means if nothing bad happens to them there, they're going to go home at some point, which means really dangerous times ahead for us. So, again, it is really dangerous. Right now we're playing for the best, worst option. I was not impressed with the plan that has been presented. I think we've made that pretty clear. We have pushed back.
Let me switch gears to Iraq for a moment. As you know, 2 major prison breaks, a whole bunch of terrorists, prisoners, some of whom the U.S. put in prison at various prisons, including Abu Ghraib in Iraq. All of a sudden, they were freed in a highly coordinated, sophisticated operation. How worried are you that some of these al-Qaeda-related terrorists in Iraq are now free?
Very concerned, and which is why many of us over time had said, be careful about bringing this group of prisoners back to the United States. It's not about people breaking out. It's about people breaking in to break people out. And we've seen this literally tens of times around the world, people breaking in to break these folks out. The latest, which is really troubling, is this one in Iraq.
One final question. Do you think that the civil war that has developed in Syria could actually really spill over and there could be a similar civil war in Iraq?
Well, you know, remember, the root of this is Iran. All of the roads go back through Tehran on this. So we know that when the United States had a heavier presence in Iraq, they were responsible for some 600 U.S. soldiers killed through their support, material support of al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, by the way, which is not a Shia-based organization, but to cause trouble. And what we've seen in Iraq then is that separating, then the Shia versus Sunni problems, that violence that's occurring across the country, spurred on by Iran. You see the same kind of thing now happening in Syria. So there's a lot of concern here, mine included, that you break out into full open Shia versus Sunni conflict, so it goes beyond a civil war. It's already gone regional. It's putting pressure on Jordan and Turkey, and the Saudis are certainly concerned. Others, the Israelis, that this thing starts to engulf that whole region because of just what you've talked about. Full-fledged civil war or uprising or insurgency in Iraq, sponsored by Iran, the same fueled in Syria, sponsored by Iran, that gets out of control. Now you have competing al-Qaeda groups in Syria fighting each other, and different terrorist organizations fighting for control. This is as bad a problem as you could draw down on a piece of paper and say, here, try to solve this. This is that problem, and it's unfortunately happening today.
It's a very, very gloomy picture that you paint, but thanks very much for painting it. The chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, Mike Rogers, from Capitol Hill. Thanks for joining us.
Hey.